One of the biggest stories this spring was the potential sale of Paramount and what losing one of Hollywood's oldest remaining studios would mean for the properties owned by it. And just when it looked like a deal had been reached with a production company named Skydance, who seemed like a good suitor for the company, the person who controls Paramount Global, Sheri Redstone, pulled away from the bargaining table and nixed the deal. Many people were left surprised by this turn of events, and even more are left to wonder what is next for the company that controls the future of Star Trek and so many other beloved franchises. Well, a recent article by Variety gave a lot of insight into what happened and perhaps what people can expect in the future. Hey everyone, my name is Eric and welcome to What Did I Miss? Where today I'll be discussing what happened to make the recent Paramount deal fall apart and why I and many others feel that fans may be better off because of it. But before I get into everything, I want to thank you for clicking on this video, and please ask that you hit that like button if you enjoy the content. It really does a lot to help my channel grow. So most of this information is from an article that was released this week by Variety that goes in depth into what the deal may have been and also what caused it to fall apart. In case you are unaware, since at least last year, Paramount Global, the company that controls Paramount Movie Studios, the Paramount Plus streaming service, and other outlets like CBS and Comedy Central, was put up for sale by the controlling member of the company. Early on in the process, a production company that already had ties to Paramount Movie Studios, named Skydance Media, became a likely partner for the sale. Not only did both companies have a prior working relationship, with Skydance producing films for Paramount in the Star Trek franchise, along with others such as the Mission Impossible and Transformers films, but the owner of Skydance Media, David Ellison, had also been vocal about his company's desire to create a larger footprint in the movie industry. Real quick, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Star Trek Fleet Command. Star Trek Fleet Command is an MMO game set in the ever-expanding Star Trek universe. Recruit legendary characters to crew iconic ships from over 50 years of Star Trek stories and send them on missions of exploration to expand your territory. Engage players from around the world in battles, testing your strategic ability, negotiate alliances for greater gain, and harvest the galaxy's resources as you upgrade your fleet of starships. The open world in the game offers a vast and diverse space landscape, from Alpha to the Omega Quadrant, inviting players to explore freely. As a starbase commander on the edge of civilized space, recruit iconic characters from the Next Generation, the original series, the J.J. Abrams films, Strange New Worlds, and more, including James Kirk, Spock, Data, and Geordi. The game's stunning graphics create a visually immersive experience, bringing the virtual world to life with intricate detail and breathtaking space-based visuals. Being free to play makes this gaming experience accessible to a wider audience, breaking barriers and fostering a more inclusive gaming community. I have been playing Star Trek Fleet Command for the past week, and I can honestly say that I enjoy it. Unlike most of these types of games, you are not constantly hit up with microtransactions, and there are a good amount of power-ups along the way. I also like that the theme from the J.J. Abrams films is being utilized in this game, as I always really enjoyed it. Star Trek Fleet Command is having a promotion for new players, who will get the epic officer Nero unlocked after 7 days of playing. Picking up the Romulan Captain Nero will increase the damage of your weapons by 40% if the opponent's ship is burning at the beginning of each round. Don't forget to log in each day and snag those rewards before they vanish into deep space. As a special gift to fans of this channel, after you log in, use the promo code BOOST, B-O-O-S-T, for early access to station upgrades and vital resources. So make sure that you go to the description of this video or scan the QR code on screen and download now. Choose your path and discover mysteries only you can solve as you boldly go where no one has gone before. Along with Skydance, other large production companies such as Warner Brothers and Sony were also linked to possible deals, but one by one they seemed to pull away from the table while Skydance remained. Unlike Skydance, a company looking to grow its footprint, it appeared that if a sale were to occur that Warner Brothers or Sony would likely just take the properties owned by Paramount that were most popular and try to sell them off to be released by larger distributors while just flat out ending others. The streaming service Paramount Plus is one example of a current asset that is losing millions of dollars every year, and most believe that if Paramount were sold to a company like Warner Brothers, who already produces content for another streaming service named Max, that Paramount Plus would be subtracted from the streaming landscape. This would of course put everything that is currently being produced on the service in major jeopardy. Even though Paramount Plus is never going to break into the top 5 streamers like Netflix and Prime, Star Trek is without a doubt the most successful franchise currently being produced there. As in the last 2 years, episodes from both Strange New Worlds and Discovery have landed their respective series on the weekly Nielsen ratings report, which tracks the most watched series each week, something only one other franchise distributed by Paramount Plus has done. It was also thought that if Paramount Studios were forced to shut down after a sale, that it would just be bad for movies in general. Since Paramount was created in 1914, it has been one of the major studios in Hollywood, and if it were gone, that would mean less opportunity for people in the industry. In the spring of 2024, it was reported by multiple outlets that while a deal had not yet been finalized between Paramount Global and Skydance yet, that one was imminent. This all came to a head on June 11th when Sheri Redstone announced to those involved that she decided to reject the deal proposed by Skydance and that she was not pursuing another deal at this time. Of course, in multi-billion-dollar deals like this, there are a lot of complicated facets, and I'm not pretending to be a lawyer. But as I understand it, Sheri Redstone wanted the other members of the Paramount Global board to vote on the terms of the deal before it was approved. This was done to protect her from being sued by these same board members after the deal goes through, something that has happened to Ms. Redstone before and cost her millions of dollars. Skydance did not want this vote to occur because they felt like being able to negotiate with one person was one of the advantages of the deal, and that including the rest of the board would be too difficult. In the end, this divide apparently became too wide to cross, and the deal was dead. So now, what does this mean for the company going forward, and more specifically, how does this affect Star Trek? First, let's talk about what would have happened had the deal with Skydance gone through. These deals, even when they are agreed upon, take a long time to complete, and during that time, the company is in a state of stasis, with many people wondering if they will have a job after the merger and which properties will survive. Then, after the merger goes through, there would be massive layoffs, and many projects would be shelved momentarily or even permanently. It is also impossible to know which properties Skydance would be excited for, but their history with Star Trek and J.J. Abrams does give us a hint that the franchise would have been safe after the merger. But if Skydance did want to concentrate on building the Star Trek film universe back up, and maybe at the cost of the shows currently on Paramount Plus, like Strange New Worlds. At least for now, it does not look like Paramount Global will be sold to Skydance or any other company. Going forward, Sheri Redstone has said that she plans to invest in the properties that Paramount has, including Paramount Plus, and try to strengthen the company. The intent is to try and make it more desirable for the next likely suitor that may want to come along and purchase it, which is great news for a franchise like Star Trek that has many new projects in the works. Just last week, it was announced that the brand new series, Star Trek Starfleet Academy, had cast award-winning actor Paul Giamatti in a major role for its first season. This coming after the news that the show had also added another award-winning actress, Holly Hunter, as a main cast member. Star Trek is not known for casting big names in their series or films, so the fact that actors of this caliber are joining what will be a new series in many ways for the franchise is significant. Along with Star Trek Starfleet Academy, another new project will be released on Paramount Plus in the next year, and that is the Section 31 film starring Michelle Yeoh. This film is not only significant because it is a continuation of a character created on a series, but is also the first Star Trek film not to be released in theaters. If the film is deemed a success, then fans can expect more Star Trek content to be released like this in the near future. Another sign that Paramount plans to continue to push Star Trek is the recent news that not only is a new film being produced, but that is meant to act as a reboot of the film series. It was all the way back in 2016 when the last J.J. Abrams film, Star Trek Beyond, was released. And even though fans have been teased for years that a sequel to that film would be produced, it looks like it is all but dead now. Mainly because of the news that the next film in the franchise is set to take place before the formation of Starfleet and act as a reboot that would lead into future stories with a new cast. Although not always the case, for the most part when a franchise is rebooted with a new cast, it means that fans can expect multiple films in a brand new storyline, meaning that this film could be a way for Paramount to get the general public back into Star Trek, much like the 2009 reboot did. Skydance is producing this film as well, and company president David Ellison has said that much like Sheri Redstone, he plans to move his company forward so they are better positioned to make a similar move in the future. So it is easy to see that Paramount plans to invest in Star Trek heavily in the short term on both the small and the large screen. Since the franchise is the most consistently popular asset the company has, it makes sense to put them front and center as part of any company rehabilitation plan. And the fact that Skydance is also in a position where they are trying to grow will help a new batch of Star Trek films reach a larger audience. So I would expect more big moves to be made in the coming months, such as the hiring of big-name actors like Holly Hunter and Paul Giamatti, and the release of the Section 31 film. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me that Paramount not selling to Skydance is good for fans, or do you disagree? Well, that is all I have today, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit that like button before you go, and I'll see you next time on What Did I Miss?